Okay, so today we're diving into a topic that you specifically requested. And, I get it. Annuities, they can seem a little bit like a bit of a mystery, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're often, kind of presented as this like simple solution, like, oh, just get an annuity and, all your retirement worries are gone.
Yeah, you're set. Easy peasy.
But we're gonna kind of pull back the curtain a little bit
Yeah.
today. And we're actually going to be looking at some excerpts from some marketing materials by diversified insurance brokers. And sort of use that as a jumping off point to look at some of the potential pitfalls of annuities.
Yeah.
So that if you are considering an annuity, or if you just want to kind of understand them better, you can make more informed financial decisions.
Right.
That's the goal here.
Yeah.
So first of all, just to kind of level set here for anybody who's not super familiar with annuities, they are basically financial products that can provide a stream of income, often used for retirement.
Exactly. Yeah.
You pay a lump sum, or you make regular payments,
Right.
and then you get a certain amount back over a certain period of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we found in looking at some of this material is there are some really critical things people should be aware of
Yeah,
before they just jump into annuities.
absolutely. So let's maybe just start by talking about like the different types of annuities.
Okay. Yeah.
Because one of the things that the source really emphasizes is that a lot of people don't understand
Yeah.
that there are different types of annuities,
Exactly.
and that they can have very different
Yeah.
levels of risk and different features and all that.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just briefly kind of walk us through
Yeah.
the main types of annuities.
Okay. So when you look at annuities, you have essentially three basic types.
Okay.
You have fixed annuities, you have variable annuities, and then you have index annuities.
Okay.
And so a fixed annuity, yeah,
As the name suggests, this is the one that is sort of your guaranteed safe
right.
rate of return.
Okay.
So you know what you're going to get.
It's like a CB almost.
Yeah, it's very similar to a CD.
Okay.
Very, very low risk, predictable, stable income stream.
Gotcha.
Then you move into a variable annuity.
Okay.
And so now with a variable annuity, what you have is your returns are tied to the performance of, certain investments.
Okay.
So think mutual funds.
Oh, okay. So that's where the variability comes in, right?
Exactly. So you have the potential for a higher return,
Right.
but you also have the potential for loss.
Gotcha.
And then the third type is this indexed annuity.
Okay.
And this is the one that gets, I think, a little more complicated and, is more difficult for people to fully grasp.
Right, because it's kind of a hybrid, right?
Yeah, it's a hybrid.
It's got elements of fixed and elements of variable.
Exactly. It's linked to an index, a market index.
Like the S&P 500 or something. Exactly, like the S&P 500, something like that. So you have the potential.
To participate in some gains.
Exactly.
But it's capped, right? There's like a limit.
Exactly. There's a limit to how much you can.
You can gain.
Yeah.
Okay. So the source makes this point, and I think it's really important, is that
Yeah.
choosing the wrong type
Yeah.
of annuity for your needs
Exactly.
can be a really big mistake.
Yeah, huge mistake. And that happens all the time.
Yeah. Like imagine you're thinking you're getting this like, rock solid
Yeah.
guaranteed return.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the market takes a dive and you're like, wait a minute,
Just happened.
what happened to my money?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's like mistake number one,
Yeah.
right? Not understanding the type of annuity.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what's another big pitfall that we need to be aware of here?
Fees.
Oh yeah, fees. Everybody loves fees.
Right. It's like the hidden costs that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah. Yeah, and the source actually does a really good job of breaking down all these different types of fees
Yeah, there are a lot.
that can be associated with annuities.
Right.
So maybe you could kind of walk us through some of those.
Okay. Yeah. So some of the most common ones that you see are, well, let's start with the surrender charge.
Okay, so a surrender charge. What's the surrender charge?
So you know how we were just talking about the surrender period, and if you take the money out too early,
Yeah.
there's a penalty.
Right.
That's the surrender charge.
Okay, so that's like
Yeah,
the price you pay for breaking up with your annuity too soon.
exactly.
Okay.
And then you also have administrative fees.
Okay.
So these are fees that are just charged for, managing the account.
Right. So that's just like kind of the cost of doing business for the company.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you also have mortality and expense risk charges.
Mortality and expense. Now, those sound a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, a little more complicated, but essentially what they're doing is they're covering the insurance company's costs
Oh, okay.
for things like, people living longer than expected.
Right, because annuities are kind of an insurance product in a way.
Right, exactly. They are an insurance product.
Okay.
So they need to factor in, mortality rates and all that.
Gotcha.
And then on top of all of that, you have rider fees.
Oh, yeah, the riders.
The rider.
And that's where it can really get you, right?
That's where it can really get you.
Because, you see this like, really appealing
Yeah.
basic rate,
Yeah.
but then they're like, oh, but if you want this feature and this feature
Right.
and all these bells and whistles, well, that's going to be extra.
Yeah, that's
And those rider fees can really add up.
yeah. They can add up. And the example they give in the source, one of the ones that really caught my eye, was this guaranteed income rider that has an annual fee exceeding 1%.
Wow.
And when you think about that over time,
Yeah.
that really eats into your returns.
It's like going to a restaurant and, you order a meal and it seems reasonably priced. And then
Yeah.
you get the bill and there's like a service charge and a water charge and a bread charge. And you're like,
Exactly.
wait a minute, what is all
It's
this?
like that wasn't on the menu.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what it can feel like with annuities too.
Absolutely. So that's like pitfall number 2, right? Not paying attention to the fees.
Not paying attention to the fees. Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about not understanding the different types of annuities.
Yeah.
We talked about the fees. What else? What other dangers are lurking out there in the annuity world?
Okay, so another one that's really important to pay attention to is the surrender period.
Yeah.
And, we touched on that a little bit when we were talking about surrender charges, but
Right.
it's important to understand what that surrender period is and really what it means for you.
Yeah, so the surrender period is basically like the amount of time
Yeah.
that you have to hold the annuity
Yeah.
before you can withdraw money without getting penalized.
Exactly.
And the source mentions that these periods can range from 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, 7 to 10 years, which is a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Like imagine needing to, access a significant chunk of your money
Yeah.
for an emergency or something.
Right.
And you're like 3 years into a 10-year surrender period.
Yeah.
You're going to get hit with a big penalty.
And the penalty can be significant.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, 10%, 15% in some cases. So it's real money.
Yeah, it's a real consideration.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like signing a lease
Yeah.
on an apartment,
Exactly.
and then realizing, oh, I don't actually want to live here for that long.
Yeah.
And now I'm stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck.
So yeah, that's definitely a big one,
Yeah.
the surrender period.
And the interesting thing, too, is that the reason that they have these surrender periods is because insurance companies, they need that money to invest.
Right.
And if people are constantly taking money out, it disrupts their ability to invest.
Gotcha.
So they try to lock people in
Yeah.
for a certain period of time.
So it's interesting because, on the one hand, you can understand
Yeah.
why the insurance company is doing it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, well, it's my money.
Right.
I should be able to access it
Right.
when I need it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to be aware of.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got let's see, we've got different types of annuities, we've got fees, we've got the surrender period.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we got here? What other pitfalls do we need to watch out for?
I think another thing the source mentions is making sure you're buying an annuity for the right reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it can be easy to get caught up in the hype.
Right.
Especially if you have, well-meaning friends who are like, oh, I bought this annuity and it's amazing.
Yeah.
You should get one too.
Yeah.
Or you see some advertisement that's promising you like, sky-high guaranteed return.
Right.
And it all sounds very tempting, but it's really important to remember that annuities are tools.
Right.
They're not magic solutions.
Right.
They have specific purposes.
Right.
Some are designed for income security.
Mm-hmm.
Some are better for tax deferral.
Yeah.
And others might be geared towards legacy planning.
Right.
So it's about making sure that the annuity you choose aligns with your specific
Right.
financial needs and your goals.
Right. And I think that's where, it's so important to not just rely on, what your buddy at the golf course tells you or, what some, flashy brochure
Sure. Yeah.
says. Right. It's like, actually sit down,
Right.
figure out, okay, what are my goals?
Yeah.
What am I trying to achieve here?
Mhm.
And then, talk to a qualified financial advisor.
Exactly.
who can help you sort of navigate all this.
Yeah, because a lot of times the people that are selling these, they might be well-intentioned,
Yeah.
but they also are incentivized
Right.
to sell you a product.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to take all of that with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we've got different types. We've got fees, we've got the surrender period, we've got making sure we're buying it for the right reasons. What's our last big pitfall here?
I think the last one that really stands out to me, and it kind of ties into the last one we were talking about, is focusing solely on the rate of return.
Oh yeah. Getting blinded by the shiny numbers.
Yeah. Exactly. You see this big number and you're like, oh, that's amazing. But as we've seen already with things like the fees, there's often more to the story.
Right, right. Because it's like a rate of return can look really good on paper,
Yeah,
but you have to understand how it's actually calculated.
exactly.
Right.
And, the source points out that there are all these factors that can really limit your actual earnings, like participation caps, spreads, and these complicated formulas that they use.
Yeah, so participation cap is basically like it limits how much you can actually gain from the index that it's tied to, right?
Exactly. So even if the market goes up, 10%, your participation cap might be 7%.
Oh, I see.
So you only get to participate in 7% of that growth.
Gotcha. And then a spread is that's like the difference between like the actual index return and what you're actually getting, right?
Exactly. It's like the insurance company's cut.
Oh, okay.
And these spreads can vary quite a bit.
Got it. So yeah, it's not as simple as just seeing a big number
No, it's not.
and being like, oh, I'm going to make, 10% a year, guaranteed.
Right. It's not that straightforward.
Right,
No.
right. So it sounds like the big takeaway here is when it comes to annuities, you gotta be informed.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Yeah. Don't just jump in blindly.
Don't just jump in blindly. Ask questions. Read the fine print.
Yeah.
Understand what you're getting into.
Yeah. And if you don't understand something,
Ask.
ask.
Yeah.
And if you're considering an annuity,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always a good idea to talk to a qualified financial advisor.
Yeah.
Someone who can look at your specific situation,
Yeah.
your goals, your risk tolerance, all that good stuff,
Exactly.
and help you make the best decision for you.
Okay.
So I think the big question that I'm left with after this whole deep dive is, we've talked about all these pitfalls, all these things to watch out for, but are there any situations where an annuity actually makes sense?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the question.
Hmm.
And that is what you need to think about in terms of your own personal
Yeah.
financial goals.
Right.
So this whole conversation, it's not meant to scare you away from annuities. It's meant to empower you to make an informed decision
Exactly.
about whether or not it's right for you.
Right, right. So there you have it. Annuities. Not as simple as they seem, but hopefully now you're armed with the knowledge you need to navigate this complex world
Absolutely.
and make the best decisions for your financial future.
Yeah. So think about it. Think about everything we've talked about. Think about your own goals.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.